Red Reality. Tonight we have a special guest from the United States who came on the invitation of the Socialist Party to a Socialist Congress we just held here in Iceland, where we were speaking about the class struggle here in Iceland and from Chris's experience. With us is Sanna Magdalena, the City Councillor of Socialists, Anita Silva and Oliver, and of course Chris Smalls. Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
It's been a great time. Yesterday's Congress was fantastic, really inspiring and good. You've enjoyed your stay so far?
Yeah, I mean, I saw an eruption. I can't complain at all.
That's lucky.
Right? Yeah.
Just after the Congress and during the night. Amazing.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you about how you got involved to begin with organizing. It was in New York in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, during COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah,
during the worst time in my life, really. It was for everybody. 2020, the pandemic. New York City was the epicenter of the world. We were deemed essential workers. We were deemed the closest thing to the Red Cross. My mom works at the hospital in New York City, Mount Sinai, for 25 years. And, she would leave work every day and see, 18-wheeler trucks full of dead bodies because people were dying almost every 15 minutes in New York at one time. Oh. And this is before the vaccine, before the mask, before the testing, before all the protocols that we have now were even implemented. So we didn't know what we were dealing with. And the fact that we were still delivering, non-essential items as Amazon workers in the warehouse with thousands of people from all over the tri-state area, I just felt that we had to do something. Mm-hmm. And when the company failed to respond in a way that made sense, we had to take further action. Me as a supervisor for 4.5 years, working with thousands of these employees for more than 60 hours a week, I consider them my extended family because I spend more time with them than my family. So for me not to speak up on their behalf, I just couldn't do that. That was inhumane. So on March 30th of 2020, I held a walkout outside of JFK 8. 2 hours later, I was fired. And I didn't realize, my life would change forever in that one day, but it did. It was publicly on the news. And then one thing pretty much led to another. The next thing I know, Jeff Bezos himself, who was making $13 billion a day, $9 million an hour, almost $5,000 a second, was going to have a smear campaign just on me alone. And when that came out and leaked to the New York Times, that's when I knew not only was this systemic racism a huge problem within corporations, calling black people not smart or articulate is a stigma in the black community that they put upon us. We're not articulate enough to speak on things. And they didn't know that I was black, according to them, which is a lie.
And they were firing you for standing up for the most basic rights, and maybe for our Icelandic viewers, it's kind of hard to understand how serious the situation was with COVID, because we had limitations here in Iceland and we stopped the spread, but in the States it was just running rampant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trump was the president, so United States of corporations could profits over people. They want to make sure businesses made money any way possible. And they didn't think carefully enough about the working class people that put their lives at risk, especially the black and brown people who make up the majority of essential workers in the country. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, when all of this leaked out to the media that they were going to smear me, that's when I decided to fight and fight in an organized way. Pretty much thrust it into the activism. Wasn't thinking about a union at the time still. It was still 2020. So I created a nonprofit organization called the Congress of Essential Workers. And I traveled the entire United States from the East Coast to the West Coast with these group of workers, Amazon workers. We had workers from different industries, Starbucks, Trader Joe's. We even had some Instacart delivery workers, Uber drivers. We had other organizations like DSA and Sunrise Movement, Extinction Rebellion, all of these different movements, Women's March, Black Lives Matter. a lot of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor movements. And we all joined outside of Jeff Bezos' mansions, all over the country for about a year. And during that time, there was a campaign of unionizing taking place in Alabama. And even though we were protesting for our health and safety concerns, we were paying attention to it. And we were definitely excited that people were speaking up. And I think we had a lot to do with providing that courage for workers in Amazon facilities all over the country to speak up. So there was a lot going on. And there was a real uprising of protests in America. There was a lot of strikes happening and protests at not just Amazon, but a lot of different corporations. And, it was a life or death situation for me. So I think the timing of the pandemic helped amplify the efforts that we were fighting for.
It's a beautiful thing. You were fired, but with courage, you kept on going. Like a recent guest of ours, a lawyer and activist, she's been fighting for Julian Assange. She says courage is contagious.
It is.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And shout out to Julian Assange. I was fortunate enough to spend some time with his family too last year in Paris. Lovely family, and I'm fighting on his behalf as well. So. All of these struggles are connected, and the catalyst for the Amazon labor union was definitely the pandemic. After that year of protesting, we decided to go back to the warehouse that fired me, JFK 8, and start our brand new worker-led union. All Amazon workers, whether we were fired or currently employed, we spent 300 plus days at a bus stop across the street, 11 months. Fighting for workers' rights and trying to educate them on what a union is. And we also had to educate ourselves. It's a difficult process, as you can imagine, difficult process trying to create a union, not join one, but create a union. Mm-hmm. And, Amazon didn't waste no time. At first, they were kind of like, this ain't going to go nowhere. But then they realized that the buzz in our building was so significant that they flew the same union busters from Alabama to New York, within 2 weeks of our campaign.
Wow, so union busters came in to shut it down. Yeah,
and I explain what these union busters are. They're basically paid PR lawyers, are pretty much, I say ops. And they get paid anywhere between $3,200 a day to $10,000 a day.
A day? Wow.
One day. And they're in the building 24/7 because Amazon doesn't close. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine, added up, how much money they spent on just union busters. Mm-hmm. And
instead of just
paying
I don't know, raising their wages.
Right.
So they can.
It's about the principle.
It's about the principle of not being told what to do.
Yeah, and also I think
not wanting to spend the.
As soon as they relent, other corporations will have to. It will set an example, and everything.
Everyone wants a cake.
And that's how they lose power. So they fight it with teeth and claw.
Mm-hmm. Domino effect.
That's what they believe, that they lose power. It's just a myth that these corporations believe that if they have to work with unions, that they're going to lose business. Yeah. But that's never been heard. That's never happened. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's the opposite. Because your workers are happy, your morale is up, people want to produce for you. Exactly. And that's why I was able to last 5 years with the company, because I was a good supervisor. Everybody respected me. And even though the job was hard and tedious and long hours, I treated people with respect. Mm-hmm. And because of that, people wanted to work hard for me because I treated them with respect. Mm-hmm. And I tried everything in my power to protect people until, COVID hit and I couldn't do it anymore. So I had to, be that sacrificial lamb for the greater good, but I don't regret it, because the next day after I was fired, they had to hand deliver the packages to my building, and not just my building, the entire world. So I cost the company billions of dollars in a matter of a day because I was whistleblowing and exposing them for their malpractice.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the very important things. Is you need to make them pay. You need to have consequences for when they are breaking our rights, when they're not treating us fairly. We need to be able, as the working class, to be able to enact some punishment. Really
hold them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's no accountability when it comes to billionaires in our country. You know, they get slaps on the wrist all the time, and you know, I blame our politicians for that, for allowing it. You know, they allow these CEOs, these billionaire CEOs, to exploit workers every day, break federal laws every day, and because the federal laws are so weak in our country, there's no accountability. And when it comes to justice, you know, I filed a class action lawsuit for everybody, and it was dismissed. You know, so there's no justice, and there's two different justice systems, even so, because I'm a black man. You know, so the only way we were going to protect ourselves is by forming a union, because the union is the shield for the workers, and you know, that's the only option we had. And I'm glad that, you know, we were successful in forming this union, and not just forming it, but defeating this $1 trillion company, which people thought was, you know, unorganizable.
And that was a historical win, being able to create that union. And they were like very, very focused on trying to prevent it, propagandizing the workers.
Oh, yeah.
Mandatory meetings where people were told to vote no for the union.
Yeah, they spent millions. $14.5 million was reported in 1 year. And they put the workers in over 3,000 captive audiences. So imagine walking into work and not even knowing your job assigned on your first day, but they march you into a union busting class, you know, just to tell you to vote no. And they spread misinformation. They tried to demonize me. You name it, they done it. You know, they called the police on me dozens of times. I was arrested in front of the building for delivering food to workers. You know, they went above and beyond. They used the NYPD against us. They used the landowners against us. They used the fire department against us. They did everything in their power to stop us. And regardless of all of the money and millions of dollars that they spent, once again, the amount of the power of people was able to defeat them. Something they can't calculate.
How are they supposed to arrest you for delivering food?
Well,
is it on their, because it's on private property? Because I remember yesterday you said you're banned from the property, right? You had to be across the street. Oh, you had to,
not banned. See, they don't.
You're not allowed on premises.
They don't want me on premises.
They don't want you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not allowed, because Amazon hires and fires people all the time, so they can't ban anybody, because literally they tell people when they're fired, oh, just apply in 3 months. So, and unless they have a restraining order on me, they can't ban me from any property.
How can they arrest you?
Exactly. So they did that, you know, to create the fear in the workers. Arrest the leader so that workers won't speak up. That's a tactic.
Make examples out of the ones who are trying.
And it's definitely not like the first time a black man has been arrested for nothing.
And it wasn't my first, damn sure wasn't my first rodeo with the police. So it backfired on them, because people saw me out there every single day in the rain, shine, winter, hot, cold, serving workers food, earning their trust, building relationships. And this was like, I want to say month 9 in our campaign. So for doing this for 9 months straight, and then they arrested me the day I'm delivering food, you know, it took a reverse toll on them. A lot of the workers got upset because they knew that Amazon was deliberately attacking us.
I think you need to remind yourself in all of these struggles, like kind of, that it's like not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you need to, like, you know, because we were discussing this after the Congress, like sometimes you need to like look back at all your achievements, because sometimes, like, if I'm talking personally, like in my job, I'm looking forward and like, oh wow, we still need to fix this and this and this and this and that. But if you think back, like, okay, but we have been able to do so many other things. So I think that was like a really important message that came through yesterday, that you need to constantly remind yourself, like, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. This is definitely, you're right,
for life
marathon. And you know, Amazon doesn't understand grassroots organizing, so that's always going to be our advantage, is that they don't know what we're capable of. They don't know what the power of people can actually do until it's actually done. And the only thing they're calculating is their profits and metrics and surveilling and, you know, robotics. So my advantage was knowing the people, knowing where they come from, knowing what issues they go through, knowing their personal issues, knowing that, you know, they have to commute 2.5 hours, 3 hours to work. These are the little details that Amazon would never care about. But
that's where the power comes from, is the solidarity and the understanding, the consciousness of what's right, what's wrong, you know, seeing you out there trying to fight for them, and then they're trying to stop you. And they start to maybe see through the propaganda, and that's a huge victory in being able to raise the consciousness to that level. Yeah,
I remember, you know, people were laughing, you know, pointing the finger, laughing at us, laughing at me. I was outside at a tent by myself for a lot of those days because my organizers are current employees. So I would be out there for 10 hours, 12 hours by myself at a tent. And, you know, Amazon would be surveilling. And then you got the pro corporate workers that would be making fun and laughing, saying we're never going to do anything, we're not going to get anywhere. But, you know, in the end, we were able to get the last laugh. You know, when that federal tent was built in front of the building, and I made sure I deliberately chose it that way, to be honest, because we had an option. We had two different options. Could have did the mail-in ballot like Alabama, but I said no, they're not going to cheat with the mailbox. We want to do the voting in front of the building. So to force this company to build a football field tent in front of the building, that showed the worker how real it really was and how important this election was.
So you made it visible and encouraged the people to participate in the election.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So you really do keep him up at night.
Oh, I kept him up. I kept him up.
But they still tried to fake the election. Like they put like a post box outside.
Like that was Alabama. Yeah. So that's why we didn't do the mail-in ballot because we knew they were going to try to cheat, do mail-in ballots. So I said, nah, fuck that. Let's build the tent and have everybody vote in person. So they had to, not only did they had to build the tent, they shut down the warehouse for an entire week. So workers basically had a free week because of us, on paid time.
Yeah, a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, one story I've heard that's disturbing is that the conditions in the warehouses can be very bad. Like it's either too hot, too cold. You know, it gets damp or bad. But Amazon takes better care of its robots than it does of the people.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. I mean, these buildings are massive. They're 14 NFL football fields, over 1 million square feet. I used to tell my new hires, if you have a gym membership, you might want to cancel it because you're going to be doing 10, 12 hours of calisthenics.
Wow.
And that's not including your commute to work and to and from. So you're talking long days on your feet, no breaks. Your breaks is 30 minutes. You get 2 of those and that's it. And you're on station, which is like solitary confinement. And you're doing repetitive work. And I watch over the years, many people, young and old, get burnt out, get injured, are worse, even deceased, And
do you currently have health insurance as Amazon workers? Some kind of health insurance?
Yeah, Amazon workers do. I don't, but Amazon workers, they get somewhat of health benefits. It's not the greatest. I lost all of that when I was fired, but the union provides services now. Even without a contract, we're able to provide a better workers' compensation program, better than Amazon's. Wow. We get people their money right away. We get people lawyered up. We get people to doctors. And actually, we just have a partnership with an on-site doctor at my office, at my union headquarters, where people can come and be seen by a doctor right there on the spot.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
And how is the struggle going for a contract? They're resisting you at every turn, Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, it's the name of the game. Appeal. Just like Oliver said, they appealed our elections, and they actually sued the board, saying the federal government helped us cheat. It's ridiculous. Really? So because our federal laws are so weak, once again, we don't even have a bargaining order right now. 2 years later, we don't even have a bargaining order. And that's something that should be given after we defeated this company. And no traction with that, and because of that, our contract clock hasn't even begun.
Yeah. We were talking. It was spoken about in the Congress yesterday how different it is in Iceland versus the U.S. Because in Iceland we have such a stronger legacy of labor rights and unions being able to get some things done, even though we have a lot of problems here and issues with bureaucratization and unions becoming passive and not really working for the interests of the workers. But still, we have 90% unionization rate, you know, even though people maybe are not grassroots organized and active. But that's what separates Efling union with Solveig from the rest. They have a very active grassroots union, and people are being active there. And in the Congress, you and Solveig, you were speaking about the new school of labor unions versus the old school.
Yeah. You know, in the old school, they hate when I say that, especially in America. They're like, oh, it's not divided like that. I'm like, I beg to differ. You know, people don't know. A lot of people didn't know that I was in 2 unions prior to Amazon, and I actually left them because the contracts were so bad. You know, I was a Teamster, and I was a part of Unite here at MetLife Stadium for 5 years, and that was before Amazon. And you know, not to say that unions aren't great in America, because they are, but they haven't been organizing for a very long time. You know, Amazon's been around 30 years now. And there was actually a campaign at my same warehouse back in 2018 that didn't even hear about, because the unions were failing to connect with the workers, and the traditional style of organizing is not going to work in the 21st century. You know, unions in the past, they organize in secrecy. They wait till they get the majority of the building. That's impossible with Amazon. You can't do that because Amazon fires people every day. So we literally did everything against the rule book. The rule book say file with 85%. We filed with 35.
Yeah. There's no other option.
Yeah, there was no other option. We actually had to file twice because the first time we didn't have enough. They fired 1,000 of my workers by the time I got to the board to file for an election.
Wow.
And like the Icelandic context, because we've been talking about how different it really is, but at the same time I'm just thinking like, because we have the Right Independence Party here in Iceland that wants to kind of like, how do you say it? You need to like protect what you already have, even though we have,
deregulate it
you know,
further.
We have like a good situation in Iceland compared to other countries. It's like, that's not something that's going to stay like that forever if we don't protect what we already have. You know,
I think that also like a major difference between the Icelandic system and the U.S. system is that, of course, in the U.S. Bribery is legal, like bribing politicians to what's it called, like the concept like
lobbying.
Yeah, lobbying, exactly. And I think that has like put a foundation of complete deregulation of most fields of work, or like businesses, and in that they kind of take the power away from like unions, I guess, like the possibility of creating a functioning grassroots union. But you kind of subverted that with this one, and
I had to not only do everything against the rule books, but we had to become independent, you know, or remain independent, because affiliating with the larger unions would have put us right into that bureaucratic democracy, and it's not really a democracy. You know,
I was gonna say, is it really a democracy if you can bribe people?
I don't think it is, and I knew that. You know, I knew that. And because of that, it also put us in the misfit category. You know, people, when we won, everybody in America, all the unions, you know, they were bandwagon supporting, you know, screaming solidarity. But prior to that, none of them, you know, showed up for us, even cared about us. And if you go back to my social media, especially on Twitter X, you'll see how much I was asking for help. And only one lawyer out of the entire country reached out to us. And one. And the day of the elections, you know, every major media outlet in the country already had the headlines that we lost the election. So they had to change it 1 hour before. You know, so nobody believed in us. and we're still feeling those effects, unfortunately, because instead of unions putting resources into us, they want to make it a competition. And it's not a competition because we're actual Amazon workers, and because of that, you should support that. Unfortunately, I'm a threat, and my union is a threat to even the labor movement in America, because union presidents in America, most of them make six-figure salaries, $500,000, $250,000. All of the unions endorse Joe Biden. And
this is very similar to with Solveig Anna and Efling. The established, more bureaucratic unions were really threatened by her and how she was doing things, and they were saying all kinds of horrible things about her, like they did about you. But she has, and Efling has the most democratic union by far, and it shows.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're the biggest threat to the status quo, and the ultimate power is putting power into the workers. That is scary to them. So for them to be sitting at the head of the table, as I have women of color, obviously I'm a black man, to have us in the same room, it's something they want to avoid. And that's a conversation outside of itself. And I'm learning all of this within my last, year and a half of being the union president. It's like the representation is not there in the labor movement. And it's not just in America, it's worldwide. Everywhere I go, it's the same issues, same struggle. And when I look at a lot of these unions that's been around for over 100 years, black and brown, immigrants, indigenous, this lack of that representation on executive boards or even in leadership.
It's been like a what's called like a disparity between the people actually in the unions, like the workers and their troubles and their difficulties, and the like maybe more middle class union leaders, which are mostly like lapdogs of the elite.
That happens a lot, and also just the basic problem of if you become a very high paid, union executive of sorts, you are distanced from the working class and their livelihoods, and that's exactly what's been happening here in Iceland.
But you should never forget where you came from, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
The people you're
that's what I don't
supposed
get.
to be serving.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. When you have some of these elective officials and some of these union heads that don't really go through elections, that's another conversation. It's like, they're getting, it was my father, it's my grandfather, and then they get passed down. So they avoid the process of being democratic, And once again, my union is a threat because we are democratic, Despite of what the mainstream media reports, my union is not. They're comparing us to established unions, which is ridiculous. So we don't even collect dues. Everything we're surviving off of is donations and really just volunteering. Sacrificing our time away from our families and loved ones to do this work. And unfortunately, we get scrutinized, and I want to say we get put under a microscope with expectations that are just insane. It's really insane if you think about it. I was just telling you on the way over here, the Teamsters president, Sean O'Brien, most powerful union, one of them in the country, if not the world, had to pay a judgment, $2.9 million judgment just a few weeks ago, because he fired 16 black union staffers. And he got one article about that. Me, I say, I'm not running for president. I got 50 articles. So, actually, I'll give you a better one. Yeah, before I came here, I was at a festival in Texas. And I said one thing about Biden, and they made a whole article about it. It's like, so that's the difference when it comes to the attention that we get. We getting, negative, unwanted press that doesn't really have no merit to it, no proof, no facts. And the other unions seem to have it a sweet deal with media where they only report all their good stuff. They don't report the ugly that comes with organizing, because every union in this world has infighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're saying. It seems they're not threatened by the Teamster president, because that's a very serious offense he's doing if he's being penalized, you know, and they don't speak about it at all.
That's beyond, you know, disgraceful. That's like resignation. If you ask me, you know, you fired 16 black people. You had to pay $2.9 million of your union's money, by the way. Not his money, it's the union's money. So imagine that your union, imagine me doing that. I'd be crucified right now. But they don't, he's a white man, so he doesn't get that scrutiny.
And he probably also kind of has a big role in maintaining the status quo. And
they love him. They put him in
complacency of
when they had the strikes. He was all over the media last year, you know, riding around with the president, with, you know, the squad, Bernie and all of them. But now it's like, oh, let's play the background. You know, let's play the background, let this blow over. And it wasn't, honestly, I would have blown over had somebody not sent me the article. Because I'm like, wow, The Guardian? Not, you know, I get the New York Times, the Post, Washington Post, Business Insider right away. But he gets the grassroots Guardian for something like that.
That's serious.
US press.
Who is there to hold him accountable, firstly? And secondly, is there no way for you to get government backing? How can the government be so biased in all of this?
That's what
I don't understand this.
Can I add one other question? Because I think people listening, because you took it to court and you won, so you had to take it to court to be able to register the union, just so it's clear why you needed to
fight for this.
So we won fair and square, which is not really fair, because we didn't spend millions. We had $2 in our account when we won. It was they had 25 objections. 25 objections to our victory. So we were in court for another 8 months afterwards. And we had to beat them again in court to get certified. And that certification didn't happen in 2022. It happened last year.
There's not a lot of justice in the U.S., it seems.
No, it's two different justice systems.
So it's like a jungle. I don't know.
That's exactly what it is. And, you know, once again, because these other established unions have such close ties to these politicians, you know, the politicians who have such close ties to the corporations, we're ushering workers into that system that doesn't work for us. And this is why the decline of unionization has been happening and continue to happen in our country, to the point where right now we're sitting here and it's less than 6%, less than 10% in the public sector, and on the decline. It's not increasing. You know, all the strikes that we've seen over the past year and a half, 2 years, that's good for their members, but that doesn't include the community. That doesn't include their own neighborhoods, because once again, they're doing a poor job of really providing resources in the right directions.
Do people not maybe think it's worth it? Do you think that's why? People don't think the fight is worth it, or that they are powerless in this jungle?
It's a combination of a lot of things. Number one thing is the education piece. You know, we don't get taught these things in school. You know, they teach us the bullshit. So I didn't know anything about a union until I was in one. And that's everybody in America. Nobody, you know, on career day, they bring in firefighters, police officers, doctors, nurses. They don't bring in union heads until now. Until now. So now, you know, they calling me to come into these elementary schools and high schools and college campuses. And the students are, you know, they're receptive because, once again, they're exposed to a lot of things at a younger age now. And I'm making unionizing look good. So if you'd have told me I could look as cool as a rapper 10 years ago and be a union president, I'd have been doing this shit a long time ago.
Hell yeah, freedom. And, you know, this, I might be a little wrong on this, but I saw a study from 10 years ago or so that in the United States, people, a majority of people had then, it's changing now I think, but they had a negative view of unions in general. Yeah. Something that had you know, in the more distant past, maybe before Ronald Reagan, people were more conscious, more active, but somehow they managed to demonize unions so much.
Actually, I think a large part of that was something that was pretty popular way back in probably the 40s, 50s, 60s, which was like unsavory individuals taking control of unions that were created with a noble purpose, to exploit the system and doing the opposite of the union's purpose, which is like they exploited the workers also.
You also had McCarthyism, where all the socialists were kicked out, you know. Because
yeah. And I think that kind of just snowballed.
I think so too.
There was definitely a negative stigma, especially about the same union I'm talking about, the Teamsters. They have a history of it. And because of that, and because there's no education on real labor, you know, folks in the community, they turn a blind eye to it when you talk about it. So the reason why our campaign was successful, because we spent the first few months just educating them. It wasn't even about signing up for the union. It's about providing the facts of what unions provide. All unionized workers make roughly $12,000 to $15,000 more than ununionized workers in America. That's a fact. All unionized workers have job security. They have better medical leave options. They have free college for themselves, their spouse, their children. They have fair promotion policies. They have pension, you know, a real retirement package. These things, once workers understood that, and we were able to educate them on the fact that this $1 trillion company, which you make them, especially in my warehouse, probably about $44 million a day, they owe you something. I think you're owed some money here. So it started to click after a while, and the union busting played very much part of that, because they were being put into captive audiences, and after a while, they're like, why? Why is this company spending so much money on the guy in the tent across the street and claiming that, you know, we're all this, we're nothing but Black Lives Matter protesters. We're, you know, you're only going to make me rich. You're only going to do this. Why? So after a while, you know, they thought that the workers were stupid, and you know,
they got that sounds like they got very arrogant in thinking that they're able to get away with that.
Extremely.
Beyond, you know, they got to the point where, you know, once again, the Alabama union busters were straight up racist. They came in there with like, you know, we beat them in Alabama. You know, we support Trump, and because Staten Island is the only red borough, Trump Island, they figured they could come near Staten Island and do that same rhetoric, not realizing that people commute to Staten Island from all over New York City, and they're coming from the hood. They're coming from low, impoverished neighborhoods. That Trump rhetoric was not going to work against me, and it didn't. You know, once again, the education, having several conversations with the workers, giving them time to digest, and I would tell them, go listen to the company and use your own conscience, and when you come back, make a decision. And 9 times out of 10, that worked by itself, because they seen through the bullshit. They said, okay, something's not adding up here. If this is not really something that we don't need, then why, once again, why are they spending millions of dollars to stop it?
Exactly.
And the company that's creating so much value, you know, Jeff Bezos, the owner, making so much money.
Going to space.
So, yeah.
I'd like
so it's the education, you know, when you see it, it's clear. Of course they can do these things. We should demand them.
Yeah. I'd like to add one little bit of fix. Jeff Bezos doesn't create the value, the workers do.
Very true. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and
the workers do.
The workers do. Nah, that's what we had to remind them, is that, you know, we're the ones that we're the real billionaires, you know, to be honest, you know, and we're not being paid what we deserve, what we rightfully deserve. And especially the word essential means a necessity, meaning that you need us. So pay us that, you know, if you need us, then you pay us to what we deserve. And I think the pandemic was the catalyst for everybody no matter what industry, to realize their value, you know. So we have an opportunity that's dwindling, but we have an opportunity of a lifetime right now. And me at 35 years old, I realize that it's like, if we don't take advantage of this, the capitalist society that we live in is going to continue to thrive, and the billionaires are going to continue to get rich, and the poor is going to continue to get poor. We have to protect ourselves. There's no cavalry coming. I can't rely on the, you know, unfortunately, the politicians in America. You can't rely on the president, because let me tell you, I met him. I met them all, and after meeting the ones that are the decision makers, I realized they're not going to have our best interests.
You've got a tough fight ahead, and it's going to be required that more people get involved, get educated. But there are no other options. We have to respond. We have to fight now. There's so much to win, like you say. The opportunity is amazing. Yeah. I think, you know, the 5 richest billionaires in the world got doubled their wealth from 2020 during the pandemic. Yeah. We got climate change. We got all these issues. Now's the time to hammer the iron.
Workers of the world unite.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm here. I'm here in Iceland to learn and bring back this knowledge to America and let them know that, look, I just came from another country with strong unions. So the international piece, because Amazon is international, is very valuable in our campaign. Even just us alone for JFK, the ALU, you know, this solidarity is imperative for us to get a contract, and it's gonna scare a lot of these billionaires. I hope it definitely keep them up at night.
Yeah, I hope it does.
Because we created something that it's not going to be reversed. You know, the culture is only growing, and since we won, I've been a part of over, 30 campaigns worldwide. You know, so there's 25 active or more in the U.S. alone. And I've been to Canada, I've been to the UK, and these countries are organizing for the first time ever against Amazon. And I was there for their launches, and I continue to support those workers and stay in touch. And, you know, eventually one day we all can go on strike together.
Global strike.
Here to that. We need solidarity. We need to spread the courage. We need to spread the consciousness, being able to show up for people in other countries and showing them how we did it, how you did it. It has a multiplying effect.
Yeah, it does. Butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Christian Smalls.
Yeah.
It's been an honor.
It's been an honor. Thank you for coming to Iceland.
Absolutely.
You inspired us all, I think. It was a great time yesterday.
Absolutely. Amazing. I love it, and I'll be back, you know. Let's just continue to fight, because when we fight back, we win every time. Love and solidarity.
Sure. Here. Thank you. Thank you for listening in. You can listen to Chris's speech in our Socialist Congress and Sólag Annas, and our discussion on the Samstöðin here on Solidarity Station. Have a wonderful night. Take the fight to the capitalists. There is a whole world to win.